In this video, I want to go through an introduction for Lab 25. I'll show some reactions, we'll show some experiments, and I'll show you the different sections that we'll do for this lab. Part A is being used to illustrate the solubility and some reactivity of these carboxylic acids. So when you watch the video, you can record the observations here. You can look up the condensed structural formula for the two different compounds that you're going to see in the video. Acetic acid is a liquid, benzoic acid is a white solid. When you're watching the solubility portion of the video, remember that any degree of cloudiness indicates an insoluble solid. As in, since acetic acid is a liquid, then what you would be looking for is two phases. One of the sample being added and then one of the water. For the pH part, we're using pH paper. So remember, that's going to change different colors for different pHs, and I'll have a little scale for you to know what the pH is for the sample. In the observations here, usually you write the color and the pH that you think it is. Now, for parts 4 to 6, really I only did benzoic acid because that's really the only one that you see any kind of changes. So I'm just going to go ahead and write in no change here, no change. And keep in mind, when I say no change here, I'm talking about observations in the lab. And again, you're not going to see that video because you just wouldn't see anything. It's the benzoic acid where you actually see changes occurring. And then, to help explain what's going on for 5 and 6, what I want to do is look at the chemical reactions that are happening. Now, I'm not going to use benzoic acid. I'm just going to use the generic carboxylic acid, like that, where R is just, like the rest of the molecule, if you will. So, right, we have an acid. This proton here is acidic. If I introduce hydroxide into the mixture by adding a few drops of sodium hydroxide, then what's going to happen here is that proton is going to transfer over to the hydroxide, and it's going to leave behind a carboxylate salt with a negative charge plus water. Now, the way this type of reaction explains the observations you're going to see here for benzoic acid, the main thing you need to know now is that when you get this charge state here, the carboxylate ion is more soluble now. Now, if you read through the procedure for this section, this whole section here, right, you're making a one test tube, and then you're performing all of these reactions on that single solution. So you're going to see changes occurring as you heat it, this reaction, that reaction. So then in part 6, we're going to take our carboxylate, and then what are we reacting it with? Well, we're reacting it with HCl. Let's do that. And now it's the HCl that has the acid, and that proton is going to be donated back to the carboxylate group, and then that's going to reform the carboxylic acid. This particular reaction, it's also used in part C of this lab. And when I talk about part C, I'll reference this again. But let's go ahead, take a look at this reaction. Just like all the others, I've, cut and pasted, sped up where needed. So, it keeps things moving with these experiments.